Welcome back to another episode of CyberBytes, the podcast. I'm your host, Joseph Cooper, and today's guest, we're joined by Anusha Iyer, the CEO and co-founder of Corscha, a leading machine identity startup. From her time working on DARPA projects to recently raising 18 million Series A, Anusha's journey is pretty incredible, and it's only the start of Corscha.
All right, and we're on.
Awesome.
Introducing Anusha Iyer, CEO at Corscha. How you doing?
Great, how are you?
Yeah, really good. I was just chatting offline, but I was really excited about the conference and having you on. You're actually my second female founder guest of the week.
Nice. Of the week?
Yeah, of the week. So yeah, looking forward to getting you in and learning a little bit more about Corscha. But first of all, congratulations on the recent Series A extension, 18 million. Very exciting.
Yeah, it's been good. We, more than even the money, it's about who you bring to the table. So we're super excited about getting SineWave around the table and have a great stack of investors right now. So ready to run.
Yeah. Exciting. We'll talk a little bit about that a bit later, but I'd love to give the audience a bit of an idea about who you are, Anusha, your background and how you got into the industry.
Sure, yeah. So pretty much today, just an engineer by training, right? And by heart, I think I always will be. And so I've been in the cyberspace for a little over 20 years. Started off in the DC area at the Naval Research Lab. So I was Navy civilian for a while, working on things like tactical edge networking and reverse engineering of weird binaries you find in the wild. And I still do, I love to do like STEM for kids in the area, in the community. And so back then I'd be like, you haven't really coded unless it's on a tarmac sitting against a plane, right? So I think I've always been in that sort of operational space. Disappeared for a while into the intelligence community, and then came out and worked for a firm called Galois. They're specialized in like cryptography, high assurance systems, privacy, and ended up running some DARPA programs for them around those realms. And DARPA's fantastic, right? You've probably heard the phrase like, if it's not DARPA hard, it's not worth them working on. So they're really looking at like those moonshot ideas, which is fabulous. I think that experience helped me realize that I really wanted to work on product and things that were a little bit more impactful today to enterprises and organizations. So at that point, jumped out and started Corscha.
Did you start as CTO at Corscha?
I did.
Yeah,
I did.
Okay, interesting.
So a little bit of code in here and there, right? So yeah.
So now as obviously CEO, when did you make the transition over to being CEO?
2023.
Okay.
So it's just been about a couple years, really.
Yeah. So when did you found Corscha? What year was this?
It was 2018.
Okay, great. And who was around you at this point? Who did you found with?
Yeah, so I founded with a good friend, Chris Simpkins, at the time, who I had known for a while. It was actually his idea, and he convinced me to jump. Obviously the whole startup thing is not for the faint of heart. And he's like, it'll be great. So kind of took the leap of faith. And it was, we sort of honestly evolved into the machine identity or the non-human identity space, right? And so in 2022, that's when we kind of realized that what we were working on was really relevant to this much bigger problem. And that's when I kind of took over.
Yeah. Can you give us a bit of a definition? I know obviously we've got API security and then non-human identities, like for the audience, like in your words, what are they? Yeah,
I mean, the way I think about it is it's identity for all of those machines, assets, workloads, like all those things that don't have the benefit of a human to back their access, right? So increasingly, as we're moving towards automation, as there's this pressure to connect everything everywhere, the problem around identity needs to shift from not who, but what, right? And it kind of makes a lot of sense. Like you think about, you see all the numbers out there now of like it's, 50-1 non-humans to humans, right? Or over 90% of traffic is automated. It's not you or I connecting into a server or an application. It's usually systems talking to other systems. And so,
how big is this problem then? Enormous.
Enormous. Yeah. And I mean, we've seen it manifest in so many different ways, right? So oftentimes it can be, a human hacking into a system is just a chain reaction, right? And then what you trigger is that larger chain reaction of all the system to system communications. And to me, like, identity is the foundation of it, right? When we think about cyber, what are we really trying to solve for? That this thing is allowed to talk to this thing at this time for these reasons, right? If we get that right, then most everything else takes care of itself.
Yeah. So when you first launched Corscha, what was you tackling at that point?
It was actually around multi-factor authentication, and my Chris at the time wanted to improve like MFA for humans and make it totally frictionless without intruding on privacy, right? So if you think about it, any of the major banks will tell you that they know it's you logging into your bank account well before you ever put your username password in, because of all the factors they're tracking about you. You know, I think we were at a conference at the time back then, and one of these large financial conferences looking like different innovative technologies and things, and they actually said that they can uniquely identify people based off of their gait as they're holding their mobile device, their phone, whatever it is. Just the way that we walk is enough to get that level of confidence that it's us.
Wow.
Right? So we were trying to tackle this problem of not compromising privacy and not having to do these annoying codes to log in every single time. And by taking the human out of that loop, we realized we'd solved this much bigger problem of the non-human or the machine talking to another machine. So we actually did some early patents around things like MFA for APIs, right? So letting every API call, challenging every API call with a one-time use MFA credential, just like you do with your Google Authenticator, but no human in the mix.
Talk to me about what you're up to now.
Yeah, so, we, around the same time, given my background, I think we ended up starting very defense or U.S. government first, and started working with the U.S. Air Force. So they came to us and they were like, you all talking about machines, and I know you're probably thinking cloud and workloads and, all that stuff, but can you do real machines? So I'm like, what do you mean? so then we went into this whole world of operational systems, right? Operational technology, and it's been wild. I mean, you think of the impact of, a electric grid getting compromised and the impact of that overall to critical infrastructure. There's a ton of system to system there. So that's been a lot of our focus lately. So
we're trying not to scare anyone on the show, Anushia, about
sorry. Disclaimer.
taking down nuclear power plants and stuff. Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it?
It's wild.
Yeah.
Or even manufacturing. But the flip of it is a lot of these environments, because of the risks that are out there, they aren't empowered to connect to anything. So that's what I love about what we're doing is, we're working with this Air Force customer right now on the manufacturing side. And it's actually thinking about cyber and identity as this bridge that unlocks connectivity, right? Because you're working in these sensitive environments robotic manufacturing, and the way it's been done to date is their solution to cyber is watch won't connect it. But if you don't connect things, you don't get the power of sharing data, you don't get all the analytics that go with that, so it's really limiting. So we've been able to come in there with the Air Force and actually say, okay, what if we could convince you that we'll bring you, that we could actually pin communication to say only this machine can talk to this machine and nothing else, right? And so then we've been able to get them doing that to actually connect IT and, these OT systems together and bring big data analytics to the shop floor. And we're even running Kubernetes on the shop floor now. And so it's been so fun to just like kind of treat cyber as this way to like bring more capability in, right? So now we're looking at like AR, VR headsets. These are all machines, right? So
whose problem is this? Is this the CISO problem?
it is increasingly the CISO problem, right? Because what we're increasingly seeing is these operational systems are falling under the purview of the CISO.
Are they?
Yeah, it's there's so much pressure to start connecting these systems to really unlock the potential there. And the minute you start connecting them, you're introducing all this risk.
Yeah. Just over the last sort of 2 years where the more non-human identities becoming a lot more, how have you seen it evolve just in the short 2 years so far?
Oh, it's been an explosion, certainly, of educating the market, which is fantastic. Like, I love to see folks talking about the problem space, right? So now you don't really have to explain what non-human identity is. It's more of like, how could we not have been doing this before, right? So, which is great.
Tell us a bit more about Corscha. Like if you was to sort of meet someone, tell us about exactly what you guys are up to.
Yeah, so our vision is to really help securely connect and help automate really from anywhere to anywhere the operational systems that run our world, right? And that could be anything from a critical workload in the cloud to, like we said, the power grid, energy fuel distribution centers to robots running a shop floor, right? So we really think about it as, okay, how can we build an identity provider focused and tailored entirely on machines and these operational systems? Kind of, what we're so used to on the human side of just, where's that Okta or that ping or that Microsoft Entra ID for systems?
Yeah. So it does seem that there's like a lot of NHI companies popping up left, right and centre. What's so unique about Corscha and what you guys are doing?
Yeah, I think our focus is really on kind of those critical operational systems to start, right? Which means that from the get-go, and this is what we did given we had customers in sensitive environments, is like we really designed the system to be hybrid. So super seamless for us to run in the cloud, which we do, and we've got a SaaS there, or run in these sensitive, like closed environments, right? So that's one thing. And then the other thing is, especially when you're talking about like operational technology, and sort of the first segment we're going after, is it's a lot more than just HTTP protocols and what we're used to with APIs and things. You really have to, a lot of these systems communicate in like very specific ways using different standards and things, and you have to be really adept at connecting the legacy with the modern, right? Sometimes you could be trying to communicate with a 30-year-old piece of manufacturing equipment that isn't going anywhere anytime soon. So yeah, very different shelf life than cloud.
Yeah, interesting. I guess like the differentiators and all the different companies coming out, it's just a lot. But in terms of features, am I right in saying that last month or so you brought a new feature out? What was that? Can you tell us a bit more about some of the features that you've been pushing out?
Yeah. So some of our core, like I mentioned around the patents, is being able to do things like MFA for APIs, right? So we've got some really cool tech around that. And now we're broadening the platform to really be able to combine that into building out more behavioral identities and hooking up against existing identity sources that are out there, right? So we have the ability to say, hook into, if a customer's already using, say, Microsoft Entra ID, right? Import what they have into Corscha's plane and then really collate all of that to be able to build out a behavioral identity for a machine, right? So that could look like, hey, this machine's always trying to talk to this other machine, and it's always doing it over these protocols, and generally seems to be around this time, the equivalent of, this scary banking story of like, I can tell how you walk, right? But for systems.
Very exciting. Cool. Yeah. On the business side of it then, obviously you just took some funding. What does that mean for Corscha?
Yeah, so we, as I said, we started sort of defense first, right? Like US Gov. And what we're seeing is a lot of demand signals on the commercial enterprise side. So a lot of the focus of this raise is going to be to help us broaden more, grow out our sales and marketing team, which you all are actually helping us with, is grow out our sales and marketing team on commercial enterprise and really invest in also on the tech side, AI and ML resources to help us advance the behavioral identity work. So it's kind of those two things.
Yeah, very exciting. And for those folks that you are interested, for folks that are interested in potentially joining Corscha, what sort of folks do you think might fit quite well into the organisation?
Yeah, I'd say the biggest thing, what I find most successful for folks coming in is being a little customer obsessed. We're definitely super customer obsessed in everything we're doing and just curious, right? I think the really interesting thing about this NHI space is it's really sort of like uncharted territory a bit, right? Especially when you're talking about like operational systems, and you really have to be curious and want to learn and constantly adapt to what we're seeing out there. So
yeah, love it.
Yeah, it's kind of
nice.
fun.
Yeah. Well, it's exciting. Like, look, I'm rooting for you guys from the bench, as you know.
Thank you.
We'll see. We'll probably do a part 2 like next year or so, and we'll
That'd be
see where
awesome.
we've come.
Yeah.
I really wanted to get in on the women in security part. I'm obviously a big advocate for it. I was saying, obviously, you're the second founder that I've had. Normally, I'm just interviewing dudes. The industry is renowned for just having I can't remember the statistics, but there's not enough women in the industry. What do you think we can do as a collective and as an industry to get more young women to think about security as a career in general and things like that?
Yeah, I think what brought me into the space, I have a funny story about dudes, I'll tell you in a second, but I think what brought me into the space is I kind of view it, there's actually so much room for creativity, right? And I kind of view it like a puzzle. And so the more and more we can frame security as this opportunity to be creative, and in general an opportunity, I think the more we attract diverse folks, right? There's so much of a culture of like the fear-driven selling around cyber, but actually if we look around, there's so many opportunities to use cyber to like unlock capabilities, right? And so I don't know, I guess I would challenge the industry out there to sell that optimistic story. And whether it's women or diverse folks and diverse backgrounds, you attract a lot more with honey, right?
Yeah, let's make it happen.
Yeah.
What's the story? Tell me the story.
So the whole dudes thing, I realized that the generational thing right now, right, is bros. Everyone says bros instead of dudes. And so I have a daughter who's my love of my life. She's 17. I've got 2 kids. So my older one is he's off to college, so my younger one's just about to go off, and consistently now she will text me and she'll be like, bro, you have no idea what happened. Love it. So
oh wow,
it's a little it's a generic
You're
term,
with the
right?
cool
So,
kids.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Love it. Talking about opportunity, we've got to bring up AI. What's your take? Where do you think this is going to take us?
Oh, I mean, it's both sides of it, right? AI is both opportunity and a responsibility, right? And so just like at Corscha, we're leveraging AI to really help us and ML to build out these behavioral identities. We also are seeing a lot of folks out there that want to do it responsibly, especially when you think about agentic AI and how identity is key there, right? I mean, you're talking about sometimes ephemeral workloads, you're talking about provenance of data in these models. When we look at agentic AI at the scale that it's happening, if we don't get identity right, I mean, how can you trust what's in these models?
So you're just scaring people again.
Oh,
oh dear. People will be like, oh my gosh. What's the future for Corscha?
Future for Corscha, just have as much impact as we can in some of these like critical sectors, right?
Yeah.
Like we really are pretty customer obsessed about getting out there and just solving some of these fun opportunities, right, for these different customers. We're now and trying to hit as many different segments on the critical infrastructure side as possible. We recently brought on fabulous independent board member Jeff Hudson, right? From
Congrats.
and so he's really been kind of helping shape some of the strategic vision and stuff. And so I'm super excited for the future.
So you have a couple of new hires in shortly.
Yes, fingers crossed.
Let's get this rocket ship to the moon.
Totally.
Well, I wish you all the best of success for the future, Anusha. And
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you, and thanks for the time. I enjoy this one. I was listening on CyberBytes. So
Thank you. Thanks, Anusha.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed today's show, please like and share with your friends and colleagues, as this is really important for the show's reach. If you'd like to be our next guest or are interested in Aspiron Search's staffing solutions, please get in touch directly with me or reach out to us via our website www.aspironsearch.com.